Hello, my name is St Pierre White. I am an adventure travel filmmaker. I've been doing this for over 30 years. And on a recent shoot in Zimbabwe, I witnessed something that I cannot explain. So I'm going to ask you in the comments to share with me what you think this might be. I'm not a kind of guy that is particularly into conspiracy theories, particularly when they're ridiculous. But I'm also interested in them when they have some validity. So I feel as I have a pretty open mind when it comes to this kind of thing. My mind can't open enough to explain what I saw. But the beauty of this is I photographed it. So what I'm going to show you now is there were three of us. My wife and our Zimbabwean guide, Graham Sharp. We were sitting, the sun had long set, everybody else was in their tents. We were sitting up having a sherry and looking at the night sky and just talking about stuff. And I said, hang on a minute, that star just moved. Strange, must have been a figment of my imagination. A few minutes later, it definitely moved. And I said, whoa, guys, that star, and it was a particularly bright star, that star just moved. So we all looked at the star, and it moved. It moved down and left, and then turned off. Okay, it's a man-made thing. It looked like a star, and it was stationary in the sky, like stars are. Of course, they're not stationary. They move, apparent to our location, which can be captured on a time-lapse camera. And guess what? I had a time-lapse camera running, and I realized, hey, whatever that was, my time-lapse camera is pointing in the right direction. I think it's going to be towards the left of frame, but I think that my time-lapse camera will capture this. Then what happened? Another star appeared, and then that one came back. It turned itself on. Stars don't turn themselves off and on. Like a switch. Click, it's gone. Click, it's back on again. Now what I'm going to show you now is, because at that moment I said, hang on, I'm going to film this, and I got a camera and I faced it towards, it was very dark. The camera I'm using is pretty good in low light, but it's not magic. It did pick us up, and we started to discuss in real time what we were watching. The time-lapse is not real time. Because it's so dark, each frame is 10 seconds. So the time-lapse camera would record and open its shutter, and each single frame run at 25 frames per second in this case would actually, is basically a 10-second exposure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play back our discussion on the banks of Lake Kariba, Matusadona in Zimbabwe. We were facing almost due west, pretty much 270 degrees magnetic, give or take. And the sun had gone down in that location. There were a series of hills, and I'm going to now go through and try and match up the frames recorded with the time-lapse camera to what we were actually seeing at the time. And then I might cut in my thoughts now as I put this film together of what I think this phenomenon, well, I don't know what it is, but I have witnessed a few things. And one of the things I want you to notice straight away is that it is fairly obvious that the phenomenon was exo-atmospheric. It was not within our atmosphere, because our atmosphere is stationary in the frame, the hills and everything, But the lights we are seeing and the unidentified aerial phenomenon moves with the time lapse with the stars. So whatever it was is outside our atmosphere being photographed. That really is where my conclusion ends. Please help me find out what this phenomenon is, because on the very next night I set up time-lapse again and the same thing happened. 15th of May and 16th of May 2025. We are filming this, folks, because we are witnessing a UFO right here. Now, there is a camera I set up about 2 hours ago, maybe a little less, over there before the moon came up, which is a time lapse. We watched a star, bright star, and it was quite bright, and it turned off. And I noticed it turn off. Then it came back. Is it coming back? It's coming back.
It's coming back.
It's coming back.
It's moving.
Okay, it's moving
across the sky.
So now, looking at through the binoculars,
there's a second.
there is a second one.
Second one.
Second one below it. These are.
There's the third. And the fourth.
I'm not seeing the fourth. The third and the
Very
fourth.
bright.
There.
That one is very, very bright.
It's very bright.
That's been the brightest one.
Yes, the other two are coming in from the top.
Yes.
There are three of them coming in from the top.
I caught a sight of the fourth one, and there it's
The
dimming
fourth one is
again.
dimming and going out. So they're pulsing, going brighter, and they're moving. They're physically moving, but they look like stars, right? So they have the same. They even twinkle a bit, don't they? They twinkle.
Yeah, they twinkle.
They twinkle like a star twinkles. And
But they don't behave like stars.
There's a
because
dance.
stars don't move like this.
No, there's a dance going in front of us, and it's happening this very second, live, while the camera is filming us.
And it comes back.
We will look at the time-lapse footage, and hopefully it's in the frame.
2032.
Give me an explanation, somebody. Please give me an explanation of what this is.
Also,
I mean, it's not. They're not airplanes, because there's an airplane.
no,
Okay, there's an airplane high in the sky now,
that
moving
here it comes.
from left.
Bottom
to right.
left now.
There's
Oh, he's
left,
coming
and
up.
there's another. Yeah, there's another one to its right, a little bit further off. I can see four. Those same four in the binoculars. Very dull. They're very dim. They've gone out.
I also see them every time they come into focus or into bright. They're coming in at a different angle.
And it's due west of our location. Would you say I was due west?
So there's an aeroplane for reference now. You can see the red light flashing.
Yes,
and
you
it's
can see
moving
the
in a very linear line.
Yes.
So that's
It's
an aeroplane.
flashing. You'll see that on the time lapse. You'll see a red line on the time lapse.
Very predictable flight path.
Yeah, and flashing.
Flash. There
There
it
it's
comes.
coming back.
And the one
Moving
on
to
the
the
right.
right.
All three in focus.
I can only see one at this
Can you
point.
see one? It's getting dull again. They're all playing in the same part of the sky.
The interesting thing about these UAPs, as they're called these days,
Yeah.
is that they're supposed to be telepathically you're supposed to be able to communicate with them telepathically. So one is supposed to be able to project your own thoughts, and if it is a UAP and it is manned by some form of biologic, they will be able to connect with you telepathically, and you should be able to communicate with them.
That seems
Cross
that
language.
seems a bit of a leap for me.
I'm sure it is a leap for you. But explain what's going on.
I can't. It's come up and he's quite close to the horizon now.
Yes,
It's dropped down
exactly.
considerably.
There's the airplane
going.
above him.
Going down, the airplane is above him.
So if we can telepathically communicate
Come
with
right
you,
that
there he is. Please show us all 4 of yours.
Close to each other.
Show all 4 of us if there's any kind of telepathic communication. If you're understanding me. I didn't say go away. I said show all 4 of you.
Well, you've got to be polite. Offer them a biscuit.
They're Romany creams.
Romany creams, they're quite nice.
Absolutely
South
delicious.
African chocky bicky. Nice.
Come and get.
Yeah, come again. Right here. We won't run away.
I'm one.
No, just don't.
He will,
do
because
any-
he's
don't
not
do
worried
any
about lions
tests
and
on us.
stuff, but
No,
this,
leave me with the lions and the wildlife. Don't talk to me about extraterrestrials. That's out of my league. Happy with the Mapani fire. That's my spot.
so we're not making this up. This is not just, I wasn't going to film anything tonight. This thing was playing out right in front of us, and the time lapse happens to be going, and we'll present this to you as with the time lapse. The moon has come up now, so the stars are a lot less distinct than they were an hour ago. So Gwyn's telepathic attempt has failed, so much so that they have
Buggered off.
buggered off.
They said we don't like Romany creams, and
We prefer
go-
eat some more,
yes.
and they've left. It's Biscuit's fault.
Oh, very interesting.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the camera and we'll turn it back on again if something interesting happens. I started recording the time lapse well before we sat down and turned on the other camera, so I'm now going to run it right through. Each step here represents 10 seconds in time. You can see it's gradually getting lighter because the moon is rising behind us. And as you can see, the objects are moving with the time lapse, with the stars. They're not stationary. And that is why I am fairly sure that this phenomenon is out of our atmosphere. But they don't appear as comets. The lines are there because each exposure is 10 seconds. These appear as stars that move, and they move fast enough for one to be able to see them move. There, of course, is the aircraft that travelled across the frame. Now, the interesting thing is that when Gwyn started talking about telepathic stuff and biscuits, that was the sign for them to leave. They left us alone. And that was the end of that phenomenon for that night. The following night, I set up another time lapse pointing in a similar direction this time because there were a lot of fishing boats on the lake, and I thought the lights would make an interesting subject. And I will now run that at the same speed. Here is my logic. They're, as I said, out of the atmosphere, otherwise they wouldn't be moving with the stars, they would be stationary with the ground, Earth. So they're not drones or anything like that. We can discount that completely. So let's now assume that they are out of our atmosphere. What could they be? Remember, the sun has just set. So whatever they are, we are seeing reflected light. It's another reason why the light emanating from them is not consistent, sometimes much brighter than at other times, which suggests to me that they are not spherical, and that if they were flat and turned to reflect more light, they would appear brighter, but they're so far away that all we're seeing is a spot of light. And when not reflecting that much light back to us, and reflecting some, they are not reflecting as much light because they're not spherical. And if they are not spherical, then they are not natural. Or at least, I mean, asteroids and things like that are round. But asteroids and comets and things like that always move in a linear direction. They might change speed and things and appear to speed up, but they're affected by gravity, so they're moving in one direction. These were moving in all up, down, sideways, and varying in intensity, and then suddenly they would turn off, just gone. How do they turn off how do you turn off a reflection? You turn off a reflection by turning so that the side that is reflecting the light back is no longer reflecting the light back in your direction. So they are extraterrestrial, out of the Earth's atmosphere, unidentified aerial phenomenon. And if you can help identify this, or you know somebody who I can send this video to, and we can come up with a conclusion, I would be the happiest man in the world. What do you think? And I have to reiterate here, they're not drones. So many things can be drones. They're out of our atmosphere. That is obvious. Okay, they're out of our atmosphere, so they're not man-made. If they are man-made, they are outside, and they're not moving like missiles, aircraft, spacecraft, satellites. Satellites don't move like this. They don't. So what are they? I look forward to reading your comments. Until next time.